Hello and welcome. I'm LJ. In this video I am going to look at and answer the question, who in the Bible is the morning star? Is it Jesus or Satan? Or perhaps both? If it is both, then are Jesus and Satan actually the same person, the same being? This may seem like a silly and pointless question to those who understand that Jesus is the Son of God and that Satan is the name for the devil. Clearly they are not the same person. Well, how clear that is would depend on which version of the Bible you are using. Many modern Bibles actually call both Jesus and the devil the morning star. By using the title morning star for both, it can be construed that the Bible actually states that Jesus and not the devil has fallen from heaven. Now again, to those who recognize the difference, this may seem absurd, but you only have to do a quick search on the internet and you will be bombarded by hundreds of sites and videos that proclaim Jesus and the devil to be one. And many go even further to declare the devil to be greater than Jesus, or the whole story to be simply based on astrotheological myth. This is leading many people astray and causing much confusion to some who are actively searching for the truth. So I shall clear this up so there is no confusion, which, if you are using the KJV instead of many of these modern versions, there probably wouldn't be any confusion in the first place. There are two verses where this apparent connection between Jesus and Satan is shown, and we shall have a look at both and prove that the modern versions of the Bible have inaccurately rendered Jesus and the devil as one, or worse, have actually demonstrated that Jesus is the fallen one. The first verse is Revelation 22:16, and for time's sake we shall just look at three versions: the KJV, the NIV, and the NASB. Revelation 22:16. I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright morning star. KJV. Revelation 22:16. I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright morning star. NIV. Revelation 22:16. I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify to you these things for the churches. I am the root and the descendant of David, the bright morning star. NASB. Now the Greek word for Jesus is Iesus, and that's Strong's word 2424. The Greek word for star is Aster, and that means star, 792. The Greek word translated bright is lampros, and that's Strong's word 2986, and it means shining, bright, or splendid. The Greek word translated as morning is proinos, and that is Strong's word 4407, and it means belonging to the morning, or early. So all versions are in agreement that Jesus is referred to as the bright morning star. The English translation would agree with the Greek in this verse, so there is no problem here. We can safely say that this verse is calling Jesus the morning star. And just so there is no confusion, the Greek and English state Jesus is the morning star in this verse. Now the reason for such affirmation of this point will become evident very soon. Now let's look at the second passage in Isaiah 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? KJV. Isaiah 14:12. How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. NIV. So the NIV has the morning star as being cast to the earth. The NASB says that the star of the morning, which could certainly be construed as the morning star, has been cut to the earth. Isaiah 14:12. How you have fallen from heaven, O star of the morning, son of the dawn. You have been cut down to the earth, you who have weakened the nations. NASB. Now, we have already seen and affirmed that Jesus is the morning star. If the morning star has fallen, then the NIV and the NASB would seem to be alluding to Jesus having fallen and not the devil. If circle reasoning is used, then it isn't hard to go one step further and come to the conclusion that Jesus is in fact the devil. If we assume the devil has fallen from heaven, and these verses are telling us that the morning star has fallen, and Jesus is the morning star, then it would be reasonable to conclude that Jesus is in fact the devil. This causes some major problems theologically and biblically. So how do we prove this conclusion false? Now, the only way to do that would be to show that one of these renderings of morning star is incorrect. We've already seen that morning star in reference to Jesus in the passage in Revelation is correct. So let's have a look at Isaiah. And let's have a look at the Hebrew. The Hebrew word translated as sun, ben, is Strong's word 1121, and it means sun. The Hebrew word translated as morning is shachar, and that is 7837 in Strong's, and it means dawn, early light, or morning. So we can certainly see the son of the morning as translated in the KJV. The NIV and the NASB translate as son of the dawn would also be a reasonable translation. But what about Lucifer, or the morning star? Now this is where the trouble begins. The word translated is Hallel, and that's Strong's 1966, and it means a shining one. This is the only place this word appears. It comes from the root word halal, which is Strong's 1984, which means to shine, but it can also be make, boast self, celebrate, commend, deal, make, foolish glory, give light, or be make. So why does the KJV translate it as the Latin word Lucifer? The word was originally used in the Latin Vulgate by Jerome, who translated the Greek Septuagint into Latin starting in 382 AD. Jerome was originally commissioned to translate the four Gospels from the best Greek texts, and without going into too much detail, which is a rather long and complex story on its own right, he would eventually translate all 39 books of the Old Testament from the Hebrew. The Septuagint, for reference, had used the word Hosphorus, which means dawnbringer, which will play a part later on. Jerome used the word Lucifer as the best descriptive Latin word for the Hebrew word Hallel. Lucifer means light bearer, lux, light, and fer, to bring. So why did the KJV translators use Lucifer rather than an English word? The KJV translators looked at many manuscripts when doing the translation, including the Latin Vulgate. It was decided that the Latin word Lucifer that Jerome has previously used was indeed the best fit to describe the entity being described in the chapter of Isaiah. They could have gone with the English light bearer or light bringer, but decided to keep the Latin word. Now, there are many untranslated Latin words in use in the English language today. Alias, alibi, caveat, exit, non sequitur, per annum, quid pro quo, terra firma, and via, just to name a few. There is nothing special or unique about the integration of a Latin word into the English language. Lucifer was simply deemed to be an appropriate word in this passage. Jerome did use Lucifer 3 times in the Vulgate. In Job 11:17, and thine age shall be clearer than the noonday. Thou shalt shine forth. Thou shalt be as the morning. Now the word translated as Lucifer in the Vulgate is the word morning in the KJV, and it is boker, and means morning, dawn, or daybreak. And the third place that Jerome translated it is 2 Peter 1:19. We have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto ye do well that ye take heed, as unto a light that shineth in a dark place, until the day dawn and the day star arise in your hearts. Lucifer being the Latin and day star being the English translation of the Greek phosphorus, which is Strong's 5459. And it means light-bearing, radiant, the morning star. When Jerome translated the Vulgate, he was not using the word Lucifer to be a name for Satan, as clearly neither the verse in Job or the verse in 2 Peter is referencing Satan. It was the Latin word that he believed best suited in the verses stated. It wasn't until the 12th century that Lucifer became a name associated with Satan. The KJV translators decided to use just one of those incidences to keep the word as Lucifer. One argument put forward that the Hebrew did not use the word Lucifer is a rather pointless one, as Lucifer is the translation of the Hebrew Hallel. The word God does not appear in the Hebrew either. The word God is the translation of the Hebrew word Elohim. So how have the NIV and the NASB managed to use the words morning star? It's important to point out that the Hebrew word star, kawkab, which is Strong's 556, is not found anywhere in the Isaiah verse. And the word shachar only appears once, and that has already been translated as dawn by both the NIV and the NASB, and morning by the KJV. It is the Hebrew word Hallel that has been translated by the NIV as morning star, and star of the morning by the NASB. Now this is where the deception starts. Lucifer, the bringer of light, has been used by Roman astrologers to describe the planet Venus. Venus for 6 months of the year can be seen above the place of the sunrise. It was seen to bring up the sun. So it is called the bringer of light, or Lucifer. During this time, when it is visible in the morning before sunrise, it is known as the morning star. It was known by the Greeks as phosphorus. The NIV and the NASB translators have used the Septuagint rendering of Dawnbringer and or taken this association of the name Lucifer and the planet Venus and applied it to the word Lucifer, and then wrongly used this definition of the word Lucifer to translate it as morning star, using the word Lucifer's connection with the morning star to translate the word Lucifer as morning star. But we have to remember that Lucifer is the already translated Latin word from the original Hebrew word Hallel, and it is Hallel that requires translation into the English, not Lucifer. Lucifer may have a secondary meaning and indeed an association with Venus, but it is not due to this connection that Jerome used the word Lucifer as he did. Hallel has no such connection with the planet Venus. It is a mistake to take the word Lucifer and use its association with the planet Venus, and the planet Venus being the morning star, in order to translate into English Hallel as morning star, or to use the Greek translation of Hallel and then use that translation to translate into morning star, which is what the NIV and the NASB would seem to have done. They have not translated the Hebrew word Hallel itself. It is worth noting that Venus for the other 6 months of the year is not referred to as the morning star, but instead it becomes the evening star, as during these 6 months, Venus, rather than bringing up the sun, now follows it down at sunset. The Greeks called this Hesperos. They actually thought that these were 2 separate stars, until Pythagoras demonstrated them to be one and the same. By the time the KJV was written, it was also known that Venus was not in fact a star, but a planet, The KJV translators were not using Lucifer to reference Venus, the morning star, but Lucifer, the translated word light bringer. This is the devil's deception. We are told that even the angels of whom Satan is one of, even if he is now a fallen one, were to worship Jesus. Hebrews 1:6. And again, when he bringeth in the first begotten into the world, he saith, and let all the angels of God worship him. Satan did not want that. He wanted to be worshipped himself. If we continue to look at the following verses in Isaiah 14:13, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Satan, Lucifer, the devil, whatever we refer to him as, he said that he will be like the Most High. This is his deception, to bring down the name of Jesus and remove from Scripture his own fall from grace. Although it is very clear that the use of morning star is an incorrect use, I must point out a mistake that is all too often purported throughout Christianity. Lucifer is not another name for the devil. Satan is the correct name, as stated 49 times throughout the Bible, both in the Old Testament, in passages such as Job 1:6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And in the New Testament, in passages such as Matthew 4:10, then saith Jesus unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. The KJV translator did not use Lucifer instead of the word Satan, as we can clearly see. They are not the same Hebrew word. In fact, Lucifer is indeed the perfect word, but not as his name, but rather Lucifer is an accurate description of Satan in this passage. We have already shown that Lucifer means bringer of light. Now if we look at another chapter referencing Satan, in Ezekiel chapter 28, we are given a list of all the jewels that arrayed Satan when he was created. Ezekiel 28:13. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of the fire. So this cherub was decked in a multitude of gemstones, which would have radiated light, or in other words, they would have been light bearers. If we compare these jewels to the breastplate on the high priest given in Exodus 28:15, and thou shalt make the breastplate of judgment with cunning work, after the work of the ephod. Thou shalt make it of gold, of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine twined linen shalt thou make it. Foursquare it shall be, being doubled. A span shall be the length thereof, and a span shall be the breadth thereof. And thou shalt set in it settings of stones, even 4 rows of stones. The first shall be sardius, a topaz, and a carbuncle. This shall be the first row, and the second row shall be an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row a ligure, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row a beryl, and an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold in their enclosings, and the stones shall be with the names of the children of Israel. 12. According to their names, like the engravings of a signet, every one with his name shall they be according to the 12 tribes. We see they are the same, except there are 3 extra on the breastplate, or there are 3 less on Satan. The gems that Satan doesn't don are a ligure, an agate, and an amethyst. This is the 3rd row of the breastplate, and they represent the tribes of Gad, Asher, and Naphtali. In Genesis 49, Jacob blesses his sons. Genesis 49:19. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words. Satan was not given these 3 jewels. Satan will never overcome at the end. The king is Jesus. Satan will never be king. And Satan cannot give good words, only deception. In Acts we are told Satan is the power of the darkness. Acts 26:18. To open their eyes, and to turn them from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan unto God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins, and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. And Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Satan deceives, and that is his power. Revelation 12:9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. He has deceived many people through these modern versions. The Bible is clear, Satan is not light, but we are told by the Bible that Satan is transformed into an angel of light, 2 Corinthians 11:14. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. And we have the usage of the name Satan. That is exactly what he has done, and why Lucifer is such an apt depiction of him in this Isaiah passage. Angel in both the Hebrew, malach, and Greek, angelos, means messenger. A messenger brings a message, and in this case it is the message being the light. He has transformed himself into the morning star, the bringer of light, and removed himself from the passage and hidden its meaning by disguising the passage as meaning something completely different, and therefore removed the association with his own fall and associated it with Jesus instead. The KJV is correct, and these verses highlight the importance of correct translation when it comes to Scripture. The devil's deception is very real, and to underestimate the lengths to which he will go to is a very dangerous stance. James 1:16. Do not err, my beloved brethren. 1 Corinthians 2:5. That your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. I hope this video has been informative and useful. If you have any comments, please leave them on Facebook, YouTube, or send me a message through email, and I look forward to seeing you on another video. Thank you very much for listening. God bless.